Hi, I'm Alanah and this is Button Bash. Wayward Manor is a really cute but unfortunately very flawed little puzzle game available on the PC and Mac, though I played it on PC and it honestly feels like it probably belongs on an iPhone instead. The game is set in 1920s Victorian Gothic estate called Wayward Manor, and you're the ghost that inhabits the house. You were planning to have this lovely, peaceful afterlife, but were unfortunately interrupted by a bunch of intruders, and in order to go back to rest, you have to scare the inhabitants of the house in a variety of, honestly, really simple ways. All the while, the house talks to you. The story is actually based off of an original tale by Neil Gaiman, who wrote Neverwhere, the Sandman graphic novels, and Coraline, amongst a whole bunch of other really, really brilliant and popular books. The game definitely has a Gaiman vibe, but you're probably better off just sticking to his books, honestly. The art style is a little charming actually, with all the characters in various rooms you enter into being chubby little animated balls with their own weaknesses and personality and quirky little captions. That said, the graphics are extremely low resolution and look like they belong on the PS2, with glitches here and there and very repetitive, kind of lazy animations. It's just not satisfying to play. The music, while equally repetitive, certainly captures the overall tone of the game really well, and each character has its own little theme. It's just that it's not particularly engaging. Kind of cute though. Even Gaiman's narration, which shows up after every few puzzles during a cutscene, sounds really dull and lifeless. It actually just sounds amateur. Beyond that, Wayward Manor is actually just a series of puzzles, somewhat cleverly disguised. You have to scare whoever is in the room before you into leaving, basically. Most, or all, of what you do is click on things. Anything that glows green can be interacted with and it'll do some kind of pre-planned thing that a certain character in the room might react to or be scared of. For example, you can make the household maid run between things by making a spiderwebs grow on them, so she has to get to dusting. And while she's doing that, you might knock a bottle on her head with some slightly careful timing. If it hits her, a little ghost skull will pop up above her head and then go to the top left of your screen. Each new skull unlocks some more things in the room that you can interact with, like you're feeding off of fear to become more powerful. And when you've got enough skulls, you've basically beaten the level. And you move on to the next room to do the same thing over. Sometimes there's more than one person, and each of these different people have different reactions to and effects on the environment, which briefly creates some interesting dynamics sometimes. For example, the two greedy little children of the manor, Patience and Fortitude, won't be scared if they're together. If you try to spook them when they're next to each other, they'll just giggle at it, so you need to find a way to separate the two by basically making them argue over something and taking away their bravery. Contaminate a trough of candy, literally a trough, and they'll brawl and go their separate ways, so you can spook them one by one before they eventually join back up to be separated again a different way. Theophilus, the grandfather of the house, walks around with a bow and will shoot at anything that makes a loud noise, which can be particularly cool in rooms that have weird little figures with shields hanging around. You can get one of Theophilus's arrows to bounce between shields, sometimes through fire to explode something, or sometimes to end up hitting someone else in the room too. The most boring character, on the other hand, just tries on different dresses and gets really scared if one of them is dirty, which doesn't add anything interesting to the game at all. It's a weird choice. I think the first time when you encounter a new character is probably when the game is at its most interesting. Learning how to exploit them and how they'll react to certain things is genuinely fun. It's just that as soon as you've finished that one room and you're on to the next, you realize what a repetitive mess you've walked into. Beyond that first introduction, everything is just the same thing presented slightly differently, which is a real shame when it wasn't that enticing to begin with. What actually does do a good job of adding some challenge to a fairly easy trial and error system is the game's secret scares, which are also unlockable achievements on Steam. Basically, after you finish each level, 3 optional objectives pop up and you get a gold skull for each you completed. It works like an optional mission constraint, except that you don't know it's there until you've already finished a level, which might encourage you to go back and play it again to see exactly how you can finish a level by only putting out the lights, or get the mother, Mildred, to spank both of the kids. If it weren't for these things popping up in each level, I probably wouldn't have even known some of those things were possible at all. On top of that, I unfortunately had to reload levels several times when the game decided to bug out and stop letting me click on things. The game auto-skipped some of the cutscenes, and a handful of other bugs made me question why this game was just released at all. If it were on an iPhone and I were going to pick it up for 15 minutes on a train every now and then, it might be fun, but as a PC or Mac game that actually requires you to dedicate time to playing, it's just definitely not worth the $10 it costs, unfortunately. I'm Alanah, and thanks for watching Button Bash.
you.